Folks, you're all very welcome back to the Talk from the Terrace. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and you'll never miss an episode. And today, on the day after, we exit the Champions League once again early. And this isn't a new thing. This is going on now for many seasons. And we're disappointed again this morning, but a lot of us probably didn't expect to go through, even though we weren't playing world beaters and a team that maybe have downsized since they won the league a couple of years ago. But joining me today is a man who knows plenty about Celtic and is always great to get his opinion. Matt McGlone, you're very welcome back to the Talk from the Terrace. Matt, of course, is from the Alternative View, the editor, and has a long history in independent Celtic media, and also did his little bit for that little thing called Celts for Change. Matt, you're very welcome to the show.
Hi, how are we today?
Matt, I'm not too happy. I had the morning from hell, but that's another story for another day. But last night wasn't too good, Matt. But as I said, some of us saw this coming.
Yeah, I mean, we've all seen this before. I mean, what we're talking about today and what Celtic fans are talking about last night and what Celtic fans are talking about at their work today is not new. We've seen this before. We saw this coming. We've seen it since the end of last season. We knew that had we not made a change before Christmas last year, then we're going to have a logjam of problems coming up at the start of this season. And that's exactly what's happened. You know, I just don't understand how the board think that Celtic are going to manage these early games in such a high competition. I mean, to qualify for the Champions League this year, just to qualify, gets you circa 38, 40 million pounds. That's massive. Why are Celtic not preparing properly for that? We aren't prepared to go into a tie against Midtjylland, who have got a new manager and sold a lot of their good players last year, and they were the best of two bad teams on the park last night. Celtic are in an atrocious state at this time of the season. And it's a bit shambolic, to be honest with you.
Now, Matt, we had plenty of chances over the two legs to win the game, especially at Celtic Park, but we didn't take our chances.
No, we didn't take the chances, and it's the same old story. We've been seeing this before. Many times we didn't take the chances. And this is not just bad luck, not taking chances. I think this is down to the fact that a lot of players don't have conviction. When they're on the ball, when they're ready to shoot, there's an opportunity to put the ball in the net. They don't have the conviction to finish it off. Celtic are a very soft team. We don't have any physical players. We don't have any hard players mentally or physically. And as a unit, we're a bit here and a bit there. I know that Ange has just come in and I've got so much respect for the guy. And I think he will eventually get it right, only if he's given the proper tools by the board. But the Celtic team is off balance physically and mentally. And if you look at Eddie last night, this is not a case of picking on a player. I'm not interested in a player. I'm interested in Celtic. I'm not interested in a player. But if we're to choose Eddie in this particular occasion, he's worse than a man down. He is running about sluggish up front. He's losing the ball in possession. He's not tracking back. He gets a chance at goal, he's slow. You know, we have to address this issue. He wants to leave the club. There's no doubt about that. So I would suggest that until he does leave the club, Celtic don't play him, because you'll get better effort out of somebody else who's maybe given the opportunity to burst the gut.
But it says a lot, Matt, when we don't have anyone to replace him. We don't have anyone in the club. The board would have known what happens when you bring a player in. When they come from overseas, they have to isolate. So they knew this from last February when Neil Lennon left, and there was no rebuild put in place. They know the players that are going, and if Eddie's one of them, you know, it's time for him just to go now, because he was... To say he underperformed last night would be an understatement. But he wasn't the only one of the so-called quality players we have. If they had put the effort in that some of the players that are becoming, I suppose, easy targets for the fans, you know, Anthony Ralston is a reserve player who's doing his utmost best. He put in a brilliant shift last night. Nobody can knock this man for effort. He may not have the talent of some of the other players, and these players need to put the effort in that the likes of Anthony Ralston is putting in, because I can't question his commitment, and neither can the manager. But when I look at players who have done nothing at the club, and I'm not going to single them out now, I'm not going to name them, but they've done nothing at the club, and they're put on this pedestal as they've been these brilliant players. Well, last night I didn't see it, and it wasn't just Eddie.
No, it wasn't just Eddie, and nobody's picking on Eddie, but if we're looking at an example of what you'd call a talisman, a guy up front to lead the line, then it was pretty shocking, to be honest with you. The Celtic board have known for such a long, long time. And, you'd always be getting paranoid thinking to yourself they're doing this deliberately. You'd have to be a wee bit paranoid actually thinking that. But then you'd say to yourself, what have they done? Where is the preparation? You fail to prepare, then you prepare to fail. It's as simple as that. The carrot is there for Celtic to earn an awful lot of money. Surely, to goodness, you can prepare yourself to try and get through a round against Midtjylland. And I believe if we had get through last night, we'd have probably played PSV Eindhoven. As a Celtic fan, I don't like hiding behind the couch. I've never done it. But my goodness, the state of this current team, there is no backup. There is no proper positioning for players in certain positions, as in a guy who should play that position. You mentioned Anthony Ralston, and we're not picking on players. Let's make that crystal clear. We're not picking on players. And he did have a very good game last night. But the lad isn't a player who has played for Celtic in recent years a great deal. He started this season with another year's contract. Why are we not signing international players, or maybe not international players yet, but players coming into that ilk and holding that position down? Positions aren't being held down, and we don't even have backup for positions which are not even being held down properly. I mean, we don't have a guy in a position, certain positions in the team, who say that's my position, and nobody's going to move me out of that. It's a revolving door, and yet even with that, we don't actually have a backup for that type of thing.
Yeah, and I think that was evident last night. The players looked out on their feet late in the game, and the substitutions were made very slowly, and that would point that the manager thinks, well, this is the best I have, and that the extra time will not have helped us now. We go to Tynecastle on Saturday evening, first game of the season, tricky away fixture. They're going to be well up for it, and I just think that, like, last night, when I was on social media, I witnessed people who would normally be quite refrained, from joining conversations, but they was pissed off, as we'll say, the normal. Like, there's always a few people that you can guarantee are going to have a rant, no matter what the performance is like. But it seems to me now that more and more fans, there's more discontent. But only a couple of weeks ago, there was fans criticising those who were calling the board out and saying, look, we'll judge us as the season goes on, because so far we're not happy with the way the club's been run. And they got a lot of grief. And there was groups, there was the Celtic Shed, the Green Brigade, the Celtic Trust, the Well Back This, the boys, and they came in for an awful lot of criticism. But yeah, people that were criticising them are now thinking they're right, because we lose a game. And once we win again, Matt, if we do start winning, they'll turn on them again. And there doesn't seem to be any accountability. And there's no one holding the board to accountability, because as shareholders, we don't have enough shares at the moment, and we just don't seem to be able to get anything. And last season we noticed that when things went tits up, there was nothing from the board, and there'll be nothing today. There'll be no statements to say anything about last night's performance, or players coming in, or like how we get out of this mess. And I just don't see anyone being able to hold this board accountable. They just seem to do what they want.
Well, sadly, that's the position we're in. That's sadly, with the amount of shares that they hold millions of shares. And that's the position we're in. Now, nobody likes Celtic being beat. As a Celtic fan, we don't like to get beat. What's bothered me just now is the structure of the team, the weakness of the team, and the way we are being beaten. Now, that for me is a big problem. And Ange has come in, and as far as I'm concerned, after last night, I don't want to be in any Europa League or Conference Europa League, whatever it's going to end up as. Let's focus on getting a team ready for Scotland. Let's focus on winning this title back. Let's focus on trying to win cups. We can't fight in all fronts at the minute because we don't have the hardware to do it. You don't send an army into a battle with 10 men up against 100. It's as simple as that. We are not prepared to fight a European campaign, even if it's Europa League. For me, it's a distraction. It's getting in the way. We want to get that title back. That title has been at Celtic Park for 9 years. They won it last year. Let's get it back. That's where we have to focus. And Celtic board, I mean, I'm listening to Ange's comments last night. I like the way he talks. He's a straight shooter. He's my kind of guy. He's straight, black and white, no grey areas. He said along the lines that maybe he hadn't made the case strong enough to the board to get players in quickly. But he hopes that they're sort of realising that now. Now, people are thinking Ange is such a strong guy that he might be a guy who just turns around and said, hang on a minute, you're making a mockery of me here. I'm a talented man. I've come in here to try and make Celtic Football Club better, but you have to give me the tools for the job. I think there's a possibility. I don't see it happening. I'm not saying this is going to happen. But it wouldn't really surprise me if he gets so fed up and so downhearted by not being backed that he thought this is not for him. Where does that leave Celtic then? Eddie Howe, 3 months to give him an answer. Ange coming in then having to isolate. Start of the season ill-prepared. 2 players have yet to hit Lennoxtown. Signed. Players that are not good enough for the positions they're in. We have to give this guy the tools for the job and let him get on with his own ideas. It's frustrating. But as far as I'm concerned, Scotland is a priority right now.
I think, Matt, everybody is backing Ange. I don't think there's no fan backing Ange. I saw a stupid comment last week on social media that, some fans wish Celtic would lose. That's bullshit. Every Celtic fan is backing Ange. Every Celtic fan wants Celtic to do well. And you're right, Scotland is the priority this year, getting back that title. But at the same time, Matt, you don't want to be going out of Europe like that. We can go on and on and on, I suppose, since last February, that things didn't change. And we still have the same backroom team that was there last year. Ange is working with them now. And this is the cards he's been dealt. Like, he said when he came in, once Celtic offered him the job, he was coming. It's a massive opportunity for him as well. But I just think that, I honestly think that the board don't seem to care. They just don't seem to have the feelings that we have, because it's there for everyone to see that players needed to come in, change needed to happen quickly. But it didn't happen quickly. It happened slowly. And then we had the PR disaster that was Eddie Howe, as you said. Ange is in now, he's doing his best, and we are backing him. But, as you say, he needs the tools. But is he going to be given them tools, Matt? Because I said I wasn't going to go on a rant when I come on today, but I was so angry. I watched the game last night with friends up in Newry, and it's about 45-minute, 50-minute drive home. And I drove home, and I was just going, imagine you in fucking Denmark last night, excuse the language, and you had to travel home after watching that. It's just, as a fan, I'm just, I'm deflated.
Yeah, I can hear it and I can feel it in your voice. And there's tens of thousands of us feel exactly the same. And part of that frustration is coming from the fact that you mentioned the way back into last year there, that nothing is coming from upstairs. There's no chat, there's no words, there's no encouragement of what we're going to do. There's no stick with it. We know we're in a bit of a position, but all being together, all singing from the same hymn sheet, we'll get there. There's nothing coming at all. All the board are saying is, gauge your money. Gauge your money. That's what we're getting. And nothing by way of a statement from anybody. You're not going to get a board member when that PLC who has a responsibility as a major shareholder, as a member of the PLC. He has a responsibility, he or she, to do what's right for the club. But you will not get any single person coming out and saying, hang on a minute, we have to challenge that guy up at the top there. Dermot is all-consuming, all-ruling. He is not going to be told what to do by anybody, even if the entire board says to him, hang on a minute, but that won't happen because the bottle is not there to turn around and do that. Action needs taken, things need addressed, the support needs informed, and none of this is going on. And these frustrations that I've got, that tens of thousands have got, that you've got sitting right now, are because we are not being addressed properly. I don't think we've been dealt with respectfully either.
Yeah, and it was such a joy, Matt, to go back to Celtic Park last week. I was at the Midland and the West Ham games, and when we scored against Midland, I nearly touched the sky. I jumped that high. The release of getting back into a stadium after watching from home last year and what we witnessed last year, and to see that goal hit the back of the net, it was an emotional release. And for those who haven't been lucky enough to get a ticket and get back into the stadium they'll have a great experience getting back. But just, the buzz of getting back was broken last night. It was I kind of went, like, all these fans paid again for the season books, and yet there's nothing coming out of this is the plan. This is like, and I think back to Dominic McKay's press conference when he done the fan press conference with Ange, and he was smooth, he was very political in his answers, and he was saying it was best practice. I want to know what best practice is. I want him to tell me what best practice is, because best practice to me is just two words. What we witnessed since last February has not been best practice. What we witnessed since the new CEO has come in has not been best practice. So he needs to tell us what best practice is, because best practice is not what we witnessed last night. A makeshift defence, two kids as centre halves, one or two players who don't want to pay for the club, and a bench that the manager didn't trust to put on until late in the game when players were out on their feet. And now they played an extra half an hour. We've gone out of Europe again in the Champions League, embarrassing. And this is nothing new, Maribor, AEK Athens, Legia Warsaw, Ferencváros last year. This is, but yeah, because we want domestic dominance, we seem to just think, Europe, the league's the big thing, and the league is the big thing this year, Matt, because they can recoup some of the money that's been lost by not qualifying for the Champions League this year, with automatic Champions League qualification up for grabs. But if we let Rangers win the league this year, they are back because they will have the money that they haven't had. And you must remember, they're living on loans and borrowings from directors, and they keep issuing shares. I don't know, they must be diluting the share price. But yeah, the fans are happy. The fans are winning. The fans are singing. The fans are laughing at us. So we want to be back on top, but we want a plan, and we want to know what is best practice. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. We need informed. We need to be told it's happening. Nobody needs to lead us. We can lead ourselves, but we need to be told that what the people above us are intending to do, what their intentions are, their best intentions for Celtic. See, if I was a board member, I'll tell you this right now, and I've never wavered my opinion ever on how I feel about things. See, if I was a board member, I'd be walking right into the next board meeting and saying, they've took our title. What are we going to do about it? Come on, mate, give this place a shake. Come on. Look, we have to go. You frightened to say something to Dermot. You frightened to say something to Dermot. Well, I'll bloody say something to Dermot. Come on, let's two or three of us say to him, this is not good enough. That's not happening. That's not happening. I don't need to be at a board meeting to know that's not happening. You can tell that's not happening because nothing is being said. There is no plan of action. We're not being showing anything. It's, this is a great season for season tickets. We love the fans giving us the money. That's all great. That's all great. And they know that we'll turn up and do it. They know that we'll turn up. Overall, majority of fans will turn up each year and do it. And that is part of the problem, taking our love for this club for granted.
Yeah.
They have to stand up and be accountable. They have to be accountable to the support. They can't cut about in the boardroom, in their suits, talking business, whatever they're doing, when there's 40, 50, 60,000 of us outside, unhappy. They have to be accountable. It has come to the point where they have to be accountable. The previous Celtic board were shown the way. The problem just now, if people to try and think that that could be replicated back then, is that this present board are controlling because they have X amount of shares. The other board didn't do that. And that's the problem you have just now. When people say sack the board, it's not as straightforward as that. You know, if we wanted to sack a board, then we'd have to know how to do it. And right now, nobody's come up with that answer. And the reason for that is because nobody has a correct amount. A single person or a group of people do not have enough shares to challenge the board. And that's the difference between now and 93, 94.
Yeah,
and what you then get now is this banging your head off a brick wall frustration that I have as a fan. And I'm no different from the guy next door or whoever. I'm no different from you. You have the same frustrations. But are the board listening? Do they hear and see our frustrations? Or do they just not care? I'm suggesting they just don't care.
I'm agreeing with you, Matt. And you know what? Like,
we want to be all singing from the same hymn sheet. But sometimes you can push some people too far.
Yeah. And I said it last night to a pal. I said Mike Ashley wouldn't look at a place on this board. I now know what Newcastle fans feel like every season. But at least we've had trophies to celebrate. But you look down at them Newcastle fans. What must it be like for them? Because we're now starting to feel how they felt for years, and it's just like we all know the team needs strengthening. So the board know the team needs strengthening, right? And hopefully we'll get them players in because it's going to be a long league campaign if we don't. So we need players in, and we need one or two out that don't want to be there. That's we've been saying that for a long time, man. But like as I said, Hearts coming up now, take them fast. We've got Postecoglou as well away at the end of the month. This is going to be a tough month. We've still to bed in the two new players when they join the squad. So, and then we as you say, Europe now is kind of becoming a distraction because we have the Europa League now against a team who I think finished third in the Czech League, FK Jablonec, I think I pronounced that right. So, Matt, a couple of weeks coming up that are going to, have us on edge and have us questioning the board furthermore of the why we're not being shown, the master plan, because there doesn't seem to be one.
Well, the chief executives of the past have always been very fond of doing press conferences when things are going well. I think from memory, I don't think Peter Lobel did a press conference at all last season, apart from to apologise for going to Dubai. And he was then contradicted a couple of days later by the manager. Master plan, yeah, we need a plan, any kind of plan. My fear is that Ange gets overwhelmed by negativity, and as much that he is frustrated that he can't put his plan into action because he doesn't have the right guys in the right positions. You can't put square pegs into round holes. Now, the Celtic team, to me, doesn't have a balance of physicality about it. It doesn't have a couple of midfield enforced to say, you're not going to run right through me. Try it. We don't have big bruising centre-backs who are going to head everything away, who will be covered in blood just to get to the ball. We don't have forwards who have commitment. We don't have forwards who play with commitment. We have guys who'll run after the ball and they'll put in a shift, but they're not playing with commitment. To put the ball in the net, you have to do something 100%. You can't go showboating. But I fear that we're not physical enough. Now, football is all about balance. You have to have technical players, you have to have skillful players, and you have to have physical players. Now, I don't want to talk about them, but they're picking up players, pre-transfers in England, have been this season, last season, season before, who've come up and have had something to prove. We've been going for gold nuggets, paying £5 million here for a Yeti, paying £5 million there for a goalie. Well, he's meant to be a goalie. Why can we not pick up guys who are not projects, who are not 18 and 19, and we might be thinking the grand plan is we'll sell them on in 2 or 3 years' time for X, Y, Z. That's what they're thinking. What they should be thinking is buying journeymen, tradesmen right now. England must be full of them. The Championship, League One in England, must be full of guys who are big physical players who would love the chance to play for Celtic. Players have come from these leagues before, up here, and have done very well. Now, we have to get the balance right. One question is we haven't got players in positions. The next question is, are they the right players to complement an overall first 11 for Celtic? We all want players to do well. You and I don't want to sit and waste our time here criticising players, and nobody's picking on Andy. You have to discuss things. You have to say, that's why that's not happening, because he's not putting a shift in. Now, we don't have a goalkeeper. We do not have a goalkeeper. How much would the guy last night that plays in goal for Midtjylland cost? How much would he cost? He looked far better than any of the two goalkeepers we had over the 2 games. There's gems all over the place. Why are we not proactive, getting stuck right in? Now, we're talking about having to be proactive right now when we know it's a bit late. But even if it's a bit late, we're a bit slow. So when it's a bit late, we're a bit slow in getting things done. These things should have been done at the tail end of last year. A managerial change should have been made, in my opinion, at the latest, at the turn of the year last year, to give them time to bed in for this year. Everything was too late last year, which has caused a logjam for this year, a logjam of problems for a new guy coming in, trying his best when he could well be engulfed with so many problems here that you won't get the best out of him, or he might just walk away. I'm not saying he's going to walk away. I don't think he will walk away. But, I'm not a body language expert, but he looks a wee bit down. I'm not trying to be a body language expert. But if I was to say the buoyant way he came in the great way he spoke, and we all had a bit of hope, you're talking about hope. You're talking about getting a message out of Celtic Park. You've mentioned that several times, and you're 100% right. That guy came in and gave us a bit of hope that day. But now, you can see the way the press spoke to him last night. There was a guy for the BBC, and he answered him very well. The catastrophe. I just don't think the manager should be in a position to be overloaded too much when he's trying to find a way out of this problem that he inherited at Celtic.
Yeah, Matt, I can't disagree with anything you've said, and you've spoke really well, because, major surgery needs to be done. And as you said there, we don't have a goalkeeper. We went into the Champions League without a goalkeeper. We're going into the SPL with the winners qualifying for the Champions League group stages, and we do not have a goalkeeper. And that's a crime. That's a crime that the board are committing by not giving Ange the tools. So if you build from the back, well, that's the first thing you do. And I know there's talk of Joe Hart coming in now, but is that a panic buy? Ange's, he wants the keeper to be able to play with his feet. If memory serves me right, I think Man City got rid of Joe because he couldn't play Pep's way. But now I could be wrong. He's an international keeper, but it just seems that it's the plan is to just make it up as we go along. Just see if the keeper's settled in this year. If he doesn't, well, maybe we look at someone down the road instead of saying he's had his chance, not good enough. We need to get someone in that offers something more solid, but they haven't. But Matt, it's been quite a negative conversation today, an angry conversation. One I didn't think I was going to have because I was, as you said, headbutting the wall, or banging your head against the wall. Sorry, but you did get back to Celtic Park yourself. How was your return?
It was a bit emotional, actually. Managed to get in, and it was great. You're sort of sitting there looking around, and people just looked excited. Of course, the 6-2 result didn't do anybody any good at all. We kind of knew it was going to happen after we saw. It's not the 6-2 result. It's the way you get beat, and it's the way you see what's going to happen next, because there's no strength in depth there. But to get back, it was great, and hopefully we can all get back sooner than later and get 100% behind the team, because if the team need MD, then it's the support, and if Ange can do his stuff, then we can do our bit. That's all we can hope for at the minute. I know this has been a wee bit of a negative conversation, but it would be totally wrong to come on here and try and paint a picture that isn't happening. The only way you sort a situation out is by addressing it. Whatever the situation is, the only way you sort it out is by addressing it. And I think this conversation, we have been quite firm in trying to say what's wrong at Celtic. We're not into picking in players individually. I'm not. I don't think you are. I know you're not. And but sometimes you have to mention certain players that you expect a bit more of. But overall, the support are here. We're here. We're always here, as Tommy Burns said. And we will remain here. All we want is a bit of direction, a bit of tools for the manager, because the guy looks willing to try and sort out Celtic's problems. A lot of people wouldn't come in to Celtic just now because they'd be engulfed with all these problems. They find it too negative to have to do all this work. A lot of people that go into clubs, you see the way that, big clubs down south get rid of managers, and they're loaded with world-class players. They just haven't made it happen. Marino for a kick-off. But, we need major surgery. And whoever comes in has got to have big ones to be able to handle that. They're not everywhere. Good managers are generally in work. And good managers generally wouldn't leave a well-run club stocked with good players to come to a club which needs major surgery and is maybe thinking, I'm not going to get the tools to do the job that's required. So where's the encouragement there? I mean, I think Ange should have come in with at least 2 of his backroom team. Now, if I'm picking things up right, if I was to sort of read roughly what he said at the first press conference, was that everybody at Celtic Park and the coaching staff was given a clean slate, and that he was going to again see if he could work with these people and take it from there. Now, if that's the case, he's either made the decision or the decision has already been made that he can work with them. Now, a lot of people don't want the backroom staff that are there just now. But if the manager says, yeah, I'm okay with it, then you have to take his word, because we don't work there daily. He does. He works at Lennoxtown and he knows what he's getting out of these guys. If he cannot work with these people, he has to be given the backing to bring in at least 2 men. All successful Celtic managers in the last 20 years, from Martin O'Neill right through Brendan Rodgers, have all brought in their own backroom teams. Some have had 1 guy in, some have had nobody. Now, Ange has come in with nobody. And sometimes it looks to me a wee bit of a lonely figure. And you wonder what he thinks about when he goes back to his hotel room, because he probably hasn't even got a house to live in here yet. And I don't even know if his family's here. Who can he talk to? That's a big thing for a manager, to be able to talk to somebody, to have the trust. I've spoken to Celtic managers in the past, and I've got to know a couple of Celtic managers pretty well in the past. And they've all told me that you need your own guys in the dressing room, and you also need somebody who's you're confident. And also you need a backroom team that doesn't take any stories upstairs, because the football department and the upstairs department are two completely different arenas, and stories shouldn't come out of the dressing room to arrive up there. So I think Ange should have his own guy in there, and I think it might happen soon.
I hope so, Matt. I hope so, because yeah, right. He could be cutting a lonely figure when he returns to his digs. Matt, it's been great to have you on. Just looking ahead, we've got Hearts coming up the weekend. We're not too confident here. I hope you're a bit more confident in Glasgow.
Try to remain forever optimistic. It's part of my DNA. Sometimes I run out of juice, but I'm remaining optimistic.
I hope. It's always a great place to go and get a win. There's no fans in, although Hibs, I think, are getting into Motherwell for their away trip. So look, there is hope for us. Getting 27,500 going to be at the first game, which is now moved from Saturday to Sunday because of the Europa League, which is a nightmare for us, because I know a few people would have took the chance of getting a ticket and booked their flights out on the Saturday and back in Saturday night, but they'll now have to enjoy a good night in Glasgow and come home maybe on the Sunday. But it's been good to talk, Matt. We had a bit of a rant, but I agree with everything. I think every fan is back in Ange, every fan is back in Celtic, but only a small percentage of fans are back in the board at this time.
Well, I don't know Andy's back in the board. I haven't seen them online or met Andy or bumped into Andy in the street at all. I was in Central Station this morning on the way to get my eyes tested, and they should send an eye test team out to Celtic Park. Anyway, that's another matter. And I bumped into a couple of Celtic fans in the station, and they're talking exactly the same as you and I are. I don't consider that we've had a rant today. I consider the fact that we're concerned Celtic fans, and we can talk club. It'd be a miss for us to sort of sit in here and think that it's just another defeat and things will get better. We've actually dissected quite a lot of what the problem is. And I think there's a responsibility, if you're going to come on in any kind of media, to talk, to say it straight, to say what's wrong, and not sugarcoat it. I think that's what we've had. And Saturday will be a physical game. There's no doubt about that. Hearts will be fired up because they have a gripe against everybody because they were put out of the league in the way they were due to the pandemic and the low position they found themselves in the league. So they maybe want to come back up and prove a big point. Celtic have to have attitude on Saturday. They have to have an approach to say that we've come here for 3 points. We're here for 3 points. And points no good here. We're not coming here for a point. Never settle for a point. Come for 3 points. Go out with a positive attitude and back each other up. And if we can get a win, then great. And it will certainly give everybody a bit of buoyancy in mood. And I think that Celtic fans will have a better approach mental to a lot of things if we can get 3 points at Tynecastle. And we have to believe we can do that.
Well, hopefully we will, Matt, because it will give us a lift we need. And as I said, thanks very much for joining me, and I'll talk to you soon, and I look forward to getting a point with you in Glasgow soon.
Right, thank you, Andrew. Cheers.